Hello, Flora, Jin. Minwoo's voice is pleasant, conversational, like he's just dropped by for coffee. Sorry to crash your celebration, but we have unfinished business. The gun in his hand catches the light from the fireworks still exploding over Seoul. Casual, terrifying. Jin pushes Flora behind him, his body a shield, and she feels his muscles coil with tension. Minwoo, you don't want to do this. Don't I? Minwoo steps fully onto the balcony, and Flora can see now that he looks different. Gone is the polished businessman in the expensive suit. His clothes are rumpled, there's a bruise on his jaw, and his eyes have a wild quality that makes Flora's blood run cold. You took everything from me, Jin. My father, my legacy, my future. And now I'm going to take everything from you. His eyes fix on Flora, and she feels the weight of that gaze like a physical touch. Starting with her. Flora's heart hammers against her ribs, but something in her refuses to cower. She spent 6 months being afraid of Jin's world, afraid of being a target, afraid of choosing wrong. She's done being afraid. You tried that already, Flora says, stepping out from behind Jin despite his hand reaching back to stop her. You failed. Yuna survived. I survived. And now you're here, desperate and cornered, pretending you still have power when really you've already lost. Minwoo's expression flickers, surprise, then anger, then something that looks almost like respect. You've got more spine than I gave you credit for, Ms. Kim. I can see why he's obsessed. I'm not obsessed, Jin says quietly, and there's something in his voice that makes the hairs on Flora's arms stand up. I'm in love. There's a difference. And that difference, Minwoo, that's why you've already lost. Minwoo laughs, but it's an ugly sound. Lost, I orchestrated everything. The accident, the investigation, even your little heroic exit from the business. You think you made that choice? I forced your hand. I made you so desperate to protect her that you gave up everything. I won, Jin, I destroyed you. No, Jin says, and he's smiling now, which is somehow more terrifying than Minwoo's gun. You freed me. You gave me permission to walk away from a life I hated. You handed me the excuse I needed to choose Flora. So really, Minwoo, I should be thanking you. For the first time, uncertainty crosses Minwoo's face. And that's when Flora hears it, sirens. Multiple sirens getting closer. Minwoo hears them too. His head snaps toward the sound, then back to Jin, and understanding dawns in his eyes. You called them. Before I even got here, you called them. I called them the moment you escaped custody. Jin's voice is calm, steady. Did you really think I wouldn't be monitoring police channels? That I wouldn't know the second you broke free? I've been 3 steps ahead of you this entire time, Minwoo. The only reason you made it this far is because I let you. Minwoo's hand tightens on the gun, and for a terrible moment, Flora thinks he's going to fire anyway. Going to take Jin down with him out of pure spite. But then the penthouse door crashes open, and Detective Park's voice rings out. Police, drop your weapon. Minwoo looks at the gun in his hand, then at Jin, then at Flora. And something in his expression crumbles. The mask falls away, and Flora sees what's underneath. Not a mastermind or a villain, just a broken man consumed by revenge that's eaten him alive from the inside. It should have been mine, Minwoo whispers. All of it. The empire, the respect, the legacy, it should have been mine. Then you should have built your own, Flora says quietly, instead of trying to destroy someone else. Minwoo's laugh is bitter as officers flood onto the balcony, weapons drawn. He drops the gun, raises his hands, and as they cuff him, he looks at Jin one last time. This isn't over. You think I'm the only one who wants you dead. You think walking away means you're safe. Minwoo's smile is vicious. Your uncle says hello, by the way, sends his regards, and his promise that he'll finish what I started. Then he's being dragged away, still laughing, and Flora sees Jin go absolutely rigid beside her. What does he mean? Flora asks, but she already knows. Can see it in Jin's face. The deal I made with my uncle, Jin says slowly, to walk away, to give him everything in exchange for leaving you alone. He pulls out his phone, checking something, and his face goes white. It was too easy. He agreed too quickly. I should have known. His phone rings. Unknown number. Jin answers, puts it on speaker. Nephew. The voice on the other end is cultured, smooth, with an undercurrent of cruelty that makes Flora's skin crawl. I hope you enjoyed your little celebration, your last moment of peace before the real game begins. Where is she? Jin's voice is deadly calm. Your lady's friend, the assistant. She's right here with me, sleeping soundly. Well, not soundly. She did put up quite a fight when my men picked her up from her apartment an hour ago. Flora's world tilts. Mina, they have Mina. Let her go, Jin says. Your deal was with me. She has nothing to do with this. Everything has to do with this. You wanted out, nephew. Fine, you're out, but you don't get to walk away clean. You don't get to play house with your pretty planner and pretend the last 20 years didn't happen. The voice hardens. You owe me a debt, your father's debt, the debt he should have paid with his life. Flora sees Jin's hand clench around the phone. What debt? What are you talking about? You really don't know. Uncle's laugh is cruel. Of course you don't. Your father made sure of that, made sure you'd worship his memory, never question his choices. But the truth, Jin, is that your father stole from me. Stole money, territory, respect. And when I confronted him, he threatened to expose my dealings to the police, to destroy me. Flora feels Jin go very still beside her. So I killed him, Uncle continues conversationally. Made it look like a rival hit. Let you spend 20 years thinking you were avenging him by running his empire, when really, you were just protecting the legacy of a thief and a coward. You're lying, but Jin's voice lacks conviction. Am I? Ask yourself why your father's death was never solved, why no one ever claimed responsibility, why I was so eager to help you take over, guide you, make sure you stayed in the life. Uncle's voice drops. Because keeping you in the game was my revenge. Watching you become everything your father pretended not to be. Watching you destroy yourself slowly, one bloody decision at a time. Flora reaches for Jin's hand, and he grips it like a lifeline. But then you tried to leave, Uncle continues. Tried to walk away, and I realized you're not suffering enough. Not yet. So here's the new deal, nephew. You come to me, alone, tonight. And maybe I'll let the girl live. Or you stay away, try to involve the police, and I'll mail her back to you in pieces. Where? Jin's voice is hollow. You know where it all began, where your father took his last breath. Uncle pauses. You have 2 hours, don't be late. The line goes dead. Flora and Jin stand on the balcony as police officers move around them. As Detective Park asks questions neither of them answers. All Flora can think about is Mina. Sweet, loyal Mina who'd only gotten mixed up in this because of Flora. Mina who'd been through hell with her ex, who'd finally felt safe, who'd been sleeping on Flora's couch just last week. I'm coming with you, Flora says. Absolutely not. Jin's response is immediate. Flora, you heard him, he wants me. This is between. Stop. Flora turns to face him fully. Stop trying to protect me by pushing me away. Stop deciding what I can handle. We're in this together now, remember? You said you were choosing me. That means you don't get to shut me out the moment things get dangerous. This isn't dangerous, Flora. This is suicide. My uncle doesn't make empty threats, if I bring you. Then we're smarter than him. Then we find a way. Flora grabs both his hands. Jin, Mina is my best friend, the only family I have in the city. If something happens to her because of me, because of us, I won't survive that. So either we go together or I go alone. Your choice. Jin stares at her for a long moment, and Flora sees the war playing out behind his eyes. The instinct to protect versus the promise to treat her as an equal. The old Jin versus the new one he's trying to become. Together, he finally says, but you do exactly what I say, and if I tell you to run. I'll run, I promise. It's a lie, and they both know it, but Jin nods anyway. Detective Park tries to stop them. Mr. Park, I can't let you walk into a hostage situation. Let us handle this. By the time you get jurisdiction, coordinate with SWAT, draw up a plan, Mina will be dead. Jin's voice is flat. You know how these things work, detective. You know that in situations like this, the first few hours are critical. I'm not waiting. Then at least let me send backup. Undercover, surveillance. Doo-jin considers this. Fine, but they stay back. If my uncle sees police presence, he'll kill her immediately just to prove a point. They leave Detective Park coordinating with his team and take Doo-jin's car, not the Maybach, something smaller and faster. As they drive through Seoul's late-night streets, Flora tries to calm her racing heart. Where are we going? She asks. My family's old compound, in Gangnam. It's been abandoned for years. After my father died there, no one wanted to use it. Bad luck, they said, cursed. Doo-jin's hands are tight on the steering wheel. I haven't been back since the funeral. Doo-jin, what your uncle said about your father, do you think it's true? Doo-jin is quiet for a long moment. I don't know, maybe. My father was a complicated man. I've spent 20 years thinking I knew him, building my entire identity around avenging him, protecting his legacy. But what if it was all a lie? What if I've been the weapon my uncle forged to punish my father? He stops, his voice breaking. What if everything I've done, every person I've hurt, every line I've crossed, what if it was all for nothing? Flora squeezes his hand. It wasn't for nothing, because it led you here, to this moment, to the choice to be different, to walk away. Your uncle wanted you trapped in that life forever, but you're choosing to leave. That's not nothing, Doo-jin, that's everything. He brings her hand to his lips, kisses her knuckles. How did I get so lucky to find you? You didn't find me. You hired me to plan a party. Flora manages a small smile. And I was dumb enough to fall for a man with a dragon tattoo and more emotional baggage than Incheon Airport. Doo-jin's laugh is surprised and genuine, and Flora feels a flicker of hope. They can do this. They can save Mina and survive and come out the other side together. They have to. The compound, when they arrive, is exactly as Flora imagined. High walls, traditional architecture, the kind of place that speaks of old money and older secrets. The gate is open, which should be their first warning. Doo-jin parks outside and turns to Flora. Last chance to stay in the car. Not happening. He reaches into the glove compartment and pulls out something small and black. A panic button. Keep this in your pocket. You press it, and Detective Park's team comes running. No matter what happens to me, if things go wrong, you press that button and you run. Understand. Flora takes the button and slides it into her jacket pocket. I understand. But as they approach the compound, Flora is already formulating a different plan. Because she knows something Doo-jin doesn't. She's been here before. Doo-jin, wait, she says, grabbing his arm. I planned an event here about 8 months ago. One of your early parties before everything. Doo-jin stops, turns to look at her. So I know the layout. I know there's a service entrance on the east side that leads directly to the study. I know there's a back staircase the staff used. I know. Flora pulls out her phone, brings up the notes she always keeps on venues. I know this place, Doo-jin, which means we have an advantage your uncle doesn't know about. Understanding dawns in Doo-jin's eyes. You want to split up. I go in the front, distract him, while I get to Mina, get her out. Then we both have room to maneuver without worrying about her safety. Flora looks at him steadily. It's risky, but it's better than walking in blind. Doo-jin cups her face in his hands. You're brilliant and terrifying, and if anything happens to you. Nothing going to happen to me, or to you, or to Mina. We're all walking out of here, Doo-jin, together. They synchronize watches, something Flora only thought happened in movies, and Flora makes her way around the perimeter of the compound while Doo-jin approaches the front entrance. Her heart is pounding so hard she's sure someone will hear it, but the compound remains quiet. Too quiet. She finds the service entrance exactly where she remembered. The door is unlocked, which is either a stroke of luck or another trap. Flora eases it open and slips inside. The hallways are dark and smell of dust and disuse. Flora uses her phone's flashlight to navigate, keeping the beam low. Every creak of the floorboard sounds like thunder in the silence. She's halfway to the study when she hears voices. Doo-jin and his uncle, their words echoing through the empty house. You came, Uncle sounds pleased, and alone just as I requested. Perhaps you're smarter than your father after all. Where is she? Dujin's voice is controlled, but Flora can hear the fury underneath. Patience, nephew. First we talk about the future, about what happens next. Flora uses their conversation as cover, moving faster now. She reaches the study's back entrance, a servant's door that's hidden behind a decorative screen, and peers through the gap. The study is exactly as she remembered from that party 8 months ago. Massive desk, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, traditional art on the walls. And tied to a chair in the corner, gagged but conscious and alert, is Mina. Their eyes meet, and Flora puts a finger to her lips. Mina nods slightly. But Flora needs Uncle distracted for just a little longer. She pulls out her phone and texts Dujin, I have eyes on Mina. Keep him talking. Through the crack in the door, Flora sees Dujin's phone light up. He doesn't look at it, but his next words are clearly designed to buy time. You said my father stole from you. What did he steal? Uncle laughs. Money, to start. 300 million won that should have been split 50-50. He took it all, invested it in his first club, and claimed he'd pay me back with interest. He never did, but that wasn't the worst betrayal. What was? He stole my future, my destiny. We were supposed to build this empire together, be equals, but your father wanted all the glory, wanted to be the king, and he was willing to destroy me to get there. Uncle's voice turns bitter. So I destroyed him first, and then I made sure his son would finish the job, would become so consumed by this life that he'd never escape it. That was my real revenge, Dujin. Not killing your father, that was mercy. My revenge was making sure you'd suffer for decades, becoming more of a monster than he ever was. Flora sees Dujin's hands clench into fists. But then she came along, Uncle continues, and Flora realizes with a chill that he's talking about her. Your pretty event planner with her naive dreams and her belief that love conquers all. And she made you soft, made you think you could just walk away, made you think you deserved redemption. She made me remember I'm human, Dujin says quietly. Something you've forgotten, Uncle. Something you lost when you let revenge consume you. Revenge didn't consume me. It sustained me. It gave me purpose. And now, Uncle's voice hardens, now it will give me satisfaction, watching you lose everything just like I did, starting with that girl tied up in the corner. That's Flora's cue. She eases the servant's door open, wincing at every tiny sound, and slips into the study. The decorative screen hides her from Uncle's view, but she has a clear path to Mina. She crosses the space in seconds, drops to her knees beside Mina's chair, and starts working on the ropes. They're tight, too tight, and Flora's fingers fumble with the knots. You know what the worst part is? Uncle is saying, and Flora uses his monologue as cover. Your father had a chance to save himself. All he had to do was admit what he'd done, apologize, split the empire with me like we'd originally agreed, but his pride wouldn't allow it, so he chose death over humiliation. And you chose to become exactly what you accused him of being, Dujin counters. A man so obsessed with power that you'd destroy your own family to keep it. The ropes finally give way. Flora pulls them free, removes Mina's gag, and helps her friend stand on shaky legs. Can you run? Flora whispers. Mina nods, though Flora can see she's terrified and exhausted. But they've made too much noise. Uncle spins around, and for one terrible moment, he stares directly at Flora and Mina. Well, he says, and there's something almost like admiration in his voice. Clever girl, I suppose I should have anticipated that. Dujin always did prefer smart women. He pulls out a gun. Of course he does. And Flora puts herself between the weapon and Mina without thinking. Don't, Dujin says. And his voice is absolutely lethal. Don't point that at her, Uncle. Point it at me. This is between us. No, Uncle says, still aiming at Flora. This is about you learning the same lesson I learned. That in our world, love is a weakness. That caring about someone gives your enemies a weapon. That the only way to survive is to be willing to sacrifice everything. Then I choose not to survive in your world, Jin says, and he steps directly into Uncle's line of fire, blocking Flora completely. You want to shoot someone? Shoot me, but you leave her alone. Flora's heart stops. Jin, no. But Jin isn't done. You spent 20 years making me into a monster, making me think that power was the only thing that mattered, that violence was the only language worth speaking. But you were wrong, Uncle, because standing here right now, choosing to protect the woman I love, this is the most powerful I've ever felt. This is the only language that matters. Uncle's hand wavers, and Flora sees something flicker across his face. Doubt, regret, some ghost of the man he might have been before revenge ate him alive. You're just like your father, Uncle says, but his voice lacks conviction. Weak, sentimental, doomed. No, Jin says. I'm better than my father, because I learned from his mistakes. I'm walking away while I still can, while I still have a soul left to save. And then everything happens at once. Uncle's finger tightens on the trigger. Flora presses the panic button in her pocket. Mina screams, and Jin lunges forward, slamming into Uncle and knocking the gun upward just as it fires. The bullet lodges in the ceiling. The gun goes skittering across the floor, and Jin and Uncle go down hard, a tangle of fists and fury and 20 years of pain. That's for my father, Jin snarls, his fist connecting with Uncle's jaw. For every lie you told me, for every person I hurt because of you, for every night I couldn't sleep because of what you made me become. Flora grabs Mina and pulls her toward the servant's door. Come on, we need to. But Mina is staring at something behind Flora, her eyes wide with horror. Flora turns. Uncle has somehow gotten to the gun, and even though his nose is bleeding and he's barely conscious, he's raising it, aiming it at Jin's back. Flora doesn't think, just moves. She throws herself forward, knocking into Jin just as the gun fires. They hit the ground together, and Flora feels a burning pain in her shoulder that tells her the bullet found a target after all. Then the room explodes with police. Detective Park and his team pour through every entrance, weapons drawn, shouting commands. Uncle drops the gun and raises his hands, and Flora realizes with dizzy relief that it's over. Finally over. Flora, Jin's hands are on her face, her shoulders, checking for damage. Flora, talk to me. Where are you hit? Shoulder, Flora manages. It's okay, I'm okay. But she's not okay. The room is spinning, and Jin's face is going in and out of focus, and there's blood, so much blood, and Flora thinks maybe she miscalculated. Stay with me, Jin is saying, and his voice is breaking. Stay with me, Flora. You don't get to save me and then leave. You don't get to. But Flora is already falling, the world going gray at the edges, and the last thing she sees before everything goes dark is Jin's face above her, tears streaming down his cheeks, his lips forming words she can't quite hear. Flora wakes up to white. White walls, white ceiling, white sheets, the sterile smell of hospital and the steady beep of monitors. She's alive. Her shoulder hurts like hell, but she's alive. Hey, Jin's voice rough with exhaustion. Welcome back. Flora turns her head, slowly, because everything hurts, and finds Jin sitting in a chair beside her bed. He looks terrible. Unshaven, clothes rumpled, dark circles under his eyes like he hasn't slept in days. How long? Flora's voice comes out as a croak. 2 days, the bullet nicked an artery. You lost a lot of blood. They had to. His voice breaks. They weren't sure you'd make it, Flora. For 6 hours, they weren't sure. But I did. Flora manages a small smile. I'm harder to kill than your uncle thought. Don't. Jin leans forward, takes her hand carefully. Don't joke about it. Do you have any idea what it was like watching you go down, seeing you bleed, thinking I'd lost you because you threw yourself in front of a bullet meant for me? I'd do it again, Flora says simply, in a heartbeat. I know, that's what terrifies me. Jin brings her hand to his lips. You're the bravest, most foolish, most incredible person I've ever met. What happened after everything went dark? Uncle is in custody. Multiple charges including attempted murder, conspiracy, kidnapping. Detective Park says he'll spend the rest of his life in prison. Do-jin's voice is hollow. Minwoo too. They're both gone, Flora. All the enemies, all the threats, gone. And Mina. Bruised but okay. She's been here every day, sitting with me, waiting for you to wake up. I sent her home an hour ago to get some rest. Yuna. Came by yesterday, brought flowers. Do-jin gestures to a massive bouquet on the windowsill. She said she's glad I found you. Glad I found someone who loves me enough to take a bullet for me. Flora squeezes his hand. I love you enough to do a lot more than that. I know, that's why. Do-jin takes a shaky breath. That's why I need to tell you something, about the future, about what happens next. Flora's heart sinks. If you're about to tell me you're going back to that life. No, God, no, the opposite. Do-jin pulls something out of his pocket. Papers, legal documents. While you were in surgery, while I was sitting in the waiting room thinking I might lose you, I made some decisions. I signed everything over. The clubs, the casinos, all of it. Liquidated everything and put the money into a foundation. A foundation. To help people get out of that world. Job training, counseling, education, legal support. Everything I wish someone had offered me 20 years ago. Do-jin's eyes are bright. I'm done, Flora, really done. No more ties to that life. No more debts. No more violence. Do-jin. And I know this doesn't erase what I've done. I know I can't undo the past, but I can try to build a better future. With you, if you still want me. Flora wants to laugh and cry at the same time. Do you really think taking a bullet changed how I feel about you? I knew who you were when I fell in love with you, Do-jin, all of you. The good, the bad, the complicated, and I'm not going anywhere. Do-jin's expression crumbles, and he buries his face in their joined hands. Flora feels his tears on her skin. I thought I'd lost you, he whispers. When you went down, when there was so much blood, I thought. But you didn't. I'm here, I'm okay. We're okay. They sit like that for a long time, just holding each other as much as Flora's injuries allow. And gradually, the world starts to right itself again. The days blur together after that. Flora's recovery is slow but steady. Mina visits daily, bringing gossip and laughter and carefully avoiding any mention of the kidnapping. Yuna comes by with her new boyfriend, a handsome doctor named Junho who makes her laugh in a way Flora never saw when she was pinning for Do-jin. Detective Park stops by to get Flora's official statement and to tell her that both Minwoo and Uncle have been formally charged. They're both trying to cut deals, he says, but the prosecutors aren't interested. They're going away for a long time, Ms. Kim. You're safe now. Safe, such a simple word, such an impossible concept for so long. But as the days pass and turn into weeks, as Flora heals and grows stronger, she starts to believe it might actually be true. 6 months pass. Flora stands in the grand ballroom of the Shilla Hotel, the same hotel where the gala happened, where this entire nightmare began, and surveys her work with satisfaction. White flowers and gold accents. String quartet warming up in the corner. Guests starting to arrive in their finest evening wear. But this isn't just any event. This is the launch of the Park Foundation, Do-jin's organization dedicated to helping people exit organized crime. It's legitimate. It's good. It's everything he's been working toward. And Flora planned every detail. Her shoulder still aches sometimes, especially when it rains. A permanent reminder of the night everything changed. But Flora doesn't mind. The scar is proof she survived, proof she fought, proof she loved someone enough to take a bullet for them. Mina appears at her elbow, tablet in hand, looking healthy and happy. They're business partners now, equal owners of Ever After events. The company has tripled in size, taking on bigger clients, more ambitious projects. They're building something real together. Final headcount is 200, Mina reports. The mayor is here, so is that actress you like, and Mina grins. Yuna just arrived, with Junho. Flora looks across the ballroom and sees Yuna, glowing, radiant, clearly in love on the arm of her doctor boyfriend. When Yuna catches Flora's eye, she waves enthusiastically and starts making her way over. Flora, Yuna hugs her carefully, mindful of the shoulder. This is amazing. Everything is so beautiful. Thank you. Your boyfriend looks happy. He is, we both are. Yuna's smile is genuine, without any shadow of old pain. I'm so glad you and Jin made it. After everything that happened when I heard you'd been shot, her voice catches. I'm just glad you both made it. They chat for a few minutes, and Flora feels genuine happiness for Yuna. She's moved on. She's happy. The triangle that once felt so painful has resolved into something better. As Yuna and Junho mingle, Flora scans the room for Jin. She finds him near the entrance, talking to a young man who looks nervous. Jin is smiling, that real smile, the one that reaches his eyes. And as Flora watches, he claps the young man on the shoulder and points him toward the job fair section. Another person getting a second chance. Jin must feel her watching because he looks up, and his eyes lock on hers across the crowded ballroom. He excuses himself and crosses to her, and even now, even after everything, Flora's heart still skips. You did it again, Jin says, pulling her close. Another perfect event. We did it, Flora corrects. This is your foundation. Our second chance, Jin says. And then, before Flora can respond, he steps back and impossibly drops to one knee. The ballroom goes quiet. 200 people stop and turn to stare. Flora's heart stops. Flora Kim, Jin says, and his voice carries across the sudden silence. 6 months ago, you stood in a hospital waiting room and told me you couldn't be my secret anymore, that you needed to be chosen, publicly, completely. He pulls out a ring, simple, beautiful, perfect. So I'm choosing you, here, now, in front of everyone who matters. I'm choosing you as my partner, my equal, my future. I'm choosing the woman who's brave enough to love me and smart enough to save me and strong enough to take a bullet for me. Jin's voice cracks. Will you marry me, Flora? Will you choose me back? Flora is crying now, tears streaming down her face, and she doesn't care that 200 people are watching. Yes, Flora says, and her voice is strong and clear. Yes, Jin, I choose you. I'll always choose you. The ballroom erupts in applause as Jin slides the ring onto her finger and stands, pulling her into a kiss that makes Flora forget anyone else exists. When they finally break apart, breathless and grinning, Mina is sobbing happily, Yuna is cheering, and Detective Park, who somehow got invited, is shaking his head with a smile. You two are going to give me gray hair, he calls out. Too late, Jin calls back, and everyone laughs. The rest of the evening passes in a blur. Flora and Jin dance together while their friends celebrate. Mina takes approximately 1,000 photos. The string quartet plays their song, the one from the gala, The Night Everything Changed. And as midnight approaches, as Flora stands in Jin's arms on the same dance floor where she once danced with Minwoo, she thinks about how far they've come. From secrets to truth, from hiding to being seen, from surviving to living. What are you thinking? Jin murmurs against her hair. That we made it, Flora says. Against all odds, through everything, we made it. We did. Jin pulls back to look at her face. But Flora, I need you to know something. This life we're building, it won't always be easy. There will be days when my past comes back, when someone recognizes me, when the whispers start. Flora silences him with a kiss. I'm sure, because we're not running from your past anymore, we're facing it together, and that makes all the difference. Together, Jin agrees, always together. The clock strikes midnight, and Flora thinks about the chocolate brown dress that started all of this, about the command to take it off, about standing in a hospital waiting room feeling invisible, about choosing herself even when it hurt, about Jin choosing her back, about taking a bullet and surviving, about building something real from the ashes of everything that tried to destroy them. Some love stories are easy, some are safe, some follow the rules and stay in the light. But this love story, Flora and Jin's story, was forged in darkness, was tested by violence and fear and impossible choices, was built on honesty and sacrifice and the courage to keep choosing each other even when walking away would be easier. And that, Flora thinks as Jin spins her across the dance floor, as their friends cheer and their future stretches bright before them, is what makes it real. Not perfect, not safe, not easy, but real. And worth every terrifying, beautiful, impossible moment. The song ends. The night winds down. And as Flora and Jin leave the ballroom hand in hand, heading toward a future neither could have imagined a year ago, Flora looks back one last time. At the ballroom that witnessed their beginning and their triumph. At the friends who stood by them. At the life they almost lost and fought so hard to keep. Then she turns forward, toward Jin, toward tomorrow, toward everything still to come. And she doesn't look back again. Because the past is finally past. The darkness is finally behind them, and the only direction left to go is forward. Together. Always together.